all, it's rcFoamFighters. Basically, this is going to be part one of the FF-35 project. In the last video for the drawing, I kind of showed a sneak peek of the initial F-35 concept that I put together. This was just a real quick prototype to test kind of the fit of the parts and pieces. There was some adjustments I had to make on the AutoCAD plan, so I made some adjustments on the plan, and we're getting ready to start the build. So let's get the video started. We'll get into the build and see how it all goes. Okay guys, here's just kind of a quick look at that quick prototype I put together. There was some adjustments I need to make. I wanted to kind of fix some of these lines up here. They didn't really match up totally correctly like I wanted. So I made some adjustments there and some other minor adjustments across the plan. But as you can see, I was trying to go for a little bit more scale looking nose on this one than some of the other builds that I've done, and also a more scale looking cockpit. It is going to be built all out of foam board. And this initial plane is going to be a pusher prop. It's not going to be EDF at first. After I get it built and flown with the pusher prop, I'll probably come back and revisit it and build an EDF version of this plane. So I do have the new plans all printed out, so I got to get started cutting these out and put it together. Then we'll start doing the cutting of the foam board. So let's get the build started and see how it goes. Okay guys, I got my preliminary plans all printed out, and this is kind of similar to all the plans that I do make. If you notice, there is an edge all the way around the plan. And this is basically because not everybody's printer will print all the way to the edge. So hopefully I'll leave enough room so it'll print out on printers even with larger margins. And basically what you want to do after you get it printed out, you're going to want to cut, I usually cut the bottom edge off and the right side edge like that. And then after you get them all cut, then you'll start taping them together. I've got one of these little slide type paper cutters. It makes it a lot easier to cut a nice straight line. And it makes it easier when you're putting your templates together. So let me get these all cut out and I'll show you how it gets all taped together. Okay everyone, I got all the template pages cut out, and as I did mention before, I cut the bottom side margin off and the right side margin. This leaves the left side here margin and the top margin. That gives you a little bit of area to overlap the pages when you tape them together. It makes it a little bit easier to get them to fit nicely. So let me finish taping up the template here, then we'll get started cutting out the parts. Okay guys, got all the basic parts cut out, and I roughly cut them around the edges of each part. And I'm just going to lay them on top of the foam board. Now I usually just tape it down to the foam board and then just start cutting out. For this project I'm going to be using the Dollar Tree foam board. It's actually a lot lighter than the Elmer's foam board. The Elmer's foam board is quite a bit stronger, but it's also more expensive. The Dollar Tree foam board is usually only $1 a sheet. So let's get started cutting out the parts. Okay guys, got most of the pieces cut out. Now I'm taking out all the little holes for the tabs to go into. Basically I just cut the rough cut around the edges of it, then just use a screwdriver or something and you can pull out the foam. And one note, usually when I cut these slots I don't cut through the bottom layer of where the slot is. That way when you put hot glue or other glue or epoxy in there, it won't leak out the bottom, and it'll stay nice and clean hopefully on the other side. So let me get on to cutting out the other parts and we'll continue on. Okay guys, next up, on a lot of these parts there's some areas where you need to do some bevel cuts. Like on this fold line here on the belly pan, you're going to need a double 45-degree bevel cut, basically like I've already done here on this side. I found this Logan foam board cutter is actually a really good way to do your bevel cuts. And it's really, I think, a must-have tool for anybody that's doing foam board planes. It makes it so much easier to do these bevel cuts. The blade on here, it has two ways it can be held. It can be held at a 45-degree angle, or if you flip it over, it can be held at a 90 when you're cutting. And you can adjust the depth of the cuts of the blade, so it's nice and adjustable, so you can make sure you don't cut all the way through the bottom side of the foam board. And it just makes it a lot easier and quicker to do these bevel cuts. A lot of times I'll just use this tool and I don't even use any sort of straight edge. I just run it by real quick, pretty much eyeballed, and it gets it cut close enough and good enough to fold up nicely. Guys, one of the next parts up is going to be the cockpit. I've got it all laid out flat here to plan on the foam board, so let me cut that out. And then after that we'll start beveling the edges and start shaping it and gluing it together. Okay guys, this is where I'm at. I've got most of the major parts cut out for the FF-35, so let's take a closer look at the parts. Okay, here's the main wing piece for the F-35. This is one of the easier pieces to cut out. It's all just flat, and basically all you have to do is cut along the lines and cut out all the little tabs that are going to have spaces available for all the other parts to slide into. In a little bit here we'll test fit all the parts and pieces to see if they fit together well. Okay, here's a look at the main fuselage piece. and also the belly plate. I've already got all the bevels cut into it to make it easier to fold. All the notches are cut, so it's going to be ready to put together. I already glued the main fuselage piece onto the belly pan, and I put a bulkhead on this piece. The nose I already glued together, so it's already starting to take shape. So that's all ready to start putting electronics on and fit together. Okay, here's the piece for the top of the fuselage that'll go on top of the main wing. I've got a couple small bulkheads in here to hold it in shape, and these have little tabs that'll just slot into the main wing on the top. So the notch is already cut on there. We'll test fit that here in a second. Okay, here's two of the more tricky pieces for the FF-35 so far that I found out. Here's the upper nose section. This one was a little bit tricky for me to get all correct, so I ended up just making it just a smaller piece, not connected to the top fuselage part because of all the bends and contours. The way the foam board is kind of harder to bend, so I just made that a smaller piece that I'll just glue onto the front of the plane. One of the other little trickier pieces, here's the canopy. You do have to make sure you put some, I don't know if you can see it real good in the video here, it's kind of white, but you got to really bevel the edges to have a nice kind of long shallow bevel, so that way it'll fit up more flush on the fuselage. So there's quite a bit of folds and bends in here that you need to do to get it to shape. When I do finish up the plans, I'll mark all these fold spots and bevel spots for the plans. Okay, last part were some easy parts to cut out. These are the vertical stabilizers, so those are all cut out and notched and ready to test fit. The only parts I need to cut out, which I haven't done already, are the two elevons on the back of the plane. But those will be easy to cut out, and I'll probably won't cut those out until I get ready to install them on the airplane. Okay guys, now we're going to slide all these pieces together, do a dry test fit, and see how it all looks with what we got right now. Okay guys, here's a look at the plane with everything test fit. This is just a dry test fit, nothing's glued together. So you can kind of see where we're going with this FF-35. Looks like it's looking pretty good. I'm a lot happier with the way the lines are fitting together than the first prototype. The adjustments I made, I think, made it a little bit cleaner, and I think it'll look a little bit better once we get it all taped up. Okay guys, I'll pretty much finish up part one here of the FF-35. In part two, we're going to be getting into installing all the electronics on the plane and probably start taping it up. So thanks again for joining me for the part one of FF-35. Stay tuned, we'll have more coming up soon.